Hello and welcome to another video for Mosaic Art. We do these courses online now because of the situation with coronavirus, but I hope we will be able to do the classes at the Expressions Cafe very soon. In this video, I'm going to show you my work continuing my Moroccan table, which I started a few weeks ago. You can see that the legs are made of wood, and this base that I have started mosaicing is just ordinary MDF wood, or plywood, shall I say. And I've already done quite a bit on my pattern. So I decided on these three colors. It was going to be brown, one or two shades of brown, an aqua turquoise glass tile. I also bought some mother of pearl tiles, which are the round tiles that you can see. And I have also used some genuine silver or white gold leaf tiles. Basically, I wasn't able to finish the whole table to show you in this video, but you can see the process of doing the work. So I just do a rough drawing of how I want my design to be with a pencil. And then I work around what's already there. So in this case, I'm doing a very simple pattern around the mother of pearl tile that's put in the place of the screws. If you go back and watch my very first video on the channel, you will see that I had to attach the base of the table onto the legs with screws. So what I did was I covered the screws with the round mother of pearl tiles. These tiles are really, really thin. So when you use something that's too thin, you will need to use extra tile adhesive, or what I did on some occasions was actually just use a stick, like a popsicle stick, cut a small piece, stick that on to your surface first, and then stick the mother of pearl tiles over that to get the right thickness. Now in this mosaic, the blue tiles that you see are actually slightly thicker than the rest of the tiles, so I've just had to work my way around that a little bit and just try to adjust the height of the other tiles, the tiles that are right next to the blue. So there are different ways to do a mosaic like this. You could use PVA glue to stick your tiles down onto the wood. Make sure that you're using a good quality PVA glue. In this case, I am just using grab adhesive, which is very similar to grout. And the reason is that I just prefer to use this for this project. If there's any residue left, that will just mingle with the grout in the end. And also, it's obviously more like a paste, so it allows you to put your tiles on a little bit more loosely. If I was using only PVA glue, then I would have a problem putting my mother of pearl tiles down. So this is the process that I'm following at the moment. As you can see, I'm just cutting the popsicle stick with the scissors, and then you can just stick that down with a little bit of glue or tile adhesive, and then just put a bit more tile adhesive and put your final tile on there. I apologize for that. My son was talking to me in the background. Now, the brown that I have used is called Gold Link. These are the vitreous tiles, the classic tiles that you see in lots of mosaics. They are a little bit more expensive than the traditional ones, but they just have this lovely shimmer to them. And that's what I wanted for this project. So I've used a very, very dark brown all around, and then a slightly lighter one to go around my tear-shaped forms that I have already done. And then I actually bought an even lighter brown to put in the background. And this light brown really matches really well with the wooden legs. So that was kind of my reference color to begin with. I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to do with the legs, if I'm going to leave them like that, carved, or if I'm going to cover them with something. So you can see that hopefully next week or the week after at my one of my other videos. So what I'm doing basically is I'm just cutting them in half. I'm trying to minimize the waste, which I've talked about before. You want to minimize the waste that you get from cutting your tiles. So you just have to make a few basic decisions before you begin about how you're going to cut your tiles, and then you just stick to that to give a consistent look to your mosaic. That's the way I see it anyway. So as you can see in this mosaic, I've used whole tiles to go all around my base, because it is going to be a coffee table, so I don't want any tiles falling off or getting lost. And then I just decided to go with the tiles cut in half. Also, you will notice that there's a certain grain on the tiles. They do look a bit like wood. That's why I loved these tiles for this project. It's kind of like a shimmering wood effect. So as you can see, I am being careful to use the grain in the same direction. So in this case, I want to take advantage of the grain of these tiles, and the grain follows the form, it follows the shapes that I'm doing. And I just thought that would make it look nice. I also wanted to share with you that these blue tiles that you see, even though they look really good, you know, they're very tempting to buy when you see them on a screen on the website. I was a little bit disappointed because they are basically mirror tiles with an effect, so with the texture. So they're like mirror tiles. They come in lots of different colors. In some shops, on some websites, they're called like moonshine tiles or something like that. Aqua, these ones were the aqua ones. They were not cheap for what they are, but the worst thing was that when you cut them, the backing, so the mirror backing, can come off, which is not very good. So on some occasions I would cut my tile and then the backing would come off, the mirror backing, so I'd have to glue that back onto the tile with the PVA glue and then glue it onto my surface. So what I'm saying is that they're okay to use, but they're just not the top quality that I would like to use when I do a project. Also, with mirror tiles, you need to be careful when you're doing outdoor projects, because if the water gets through, it is possible that they will lose that mirror effect in time. And that's of course the reason why in some high-end mosaics, you see they use real color or real silver tiles, so they are more expensive, but it is worth it. Sometimes it's better just to use a little bit of the real thing instead of using too much of the fake substitute. You can also buy a mixture that is basically tile adhesive as well as grout. So then the good thing about that is that if any of the tile adhesive seeps through, it will just mix with the final grout when you come to grout it. Just make sure that you clean around the edges if you've stopped working for the day. So you want to clean around the edges of the parts that you've already mosaiced, because the tile adhesive or the grout, tile adhesive / grout or grab adhesive, it goes really rock hard. So you want to clean your area if you finished for the day, and then leave your edges nice and clean for the next day. It's also highly recommended to wear gloves for this job, because then you can just use your hands if you want to do a little bit of to spread the grout. And this cleaning that I'm doing here very quickly is you just use a damp sponge or cloth. You don't want it to be too wet, because that will interfere with the consistency of the tile adhesive. So you're just literally using just a slightly damp sponge just to clean your surface. As I mentioned before, these cutters I'm using are called wheeled nippers or wheeled cutters. You can find them online. They are a little bit more expensive than the other types of cutters, but they are well worth it if you want to do more mosaics. And you can see that I'm using a little tub, so the offcuts can go straight into the tub. These tiles can be really sharp when you cut them, so do be careful.
I keep a photograph in which we were in love, caught in your eyes, waiting for the sunrise. I barely even knew who you were. What did you do? I didn't care, 'cause you were perfect, I swear. But somebody told me that it's over. I know it's true. You made me happy for a while. I remember fleeting times when we slept on top of cars. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. I remember fleeting times when we watched the sparks so fire. Now I don't know you, you don't know me too. Stars shone in our eyes like the lights of fireflies. We were obsessed and we felt warm 2.
So another way to put your tiles on your surface is if you just take a spatula and spread the tile adhesive onto the surface. You just want a thin layer, and then you simply push the tiles down into place. You just need to be a little bit careful with that, because if you put too much tile adhesive, then your tiles will be too high, and then when you push them down, you will have too much tile adhesive left over. So in other words, it can be a little bit messy, but with experience you will learn just how much to put, and also, as you can see, I am using up what's left over. I'm trying to clean the edges of what I'm doing so that it can be nice and clean for when I'm ready to carry on with my work. I think that's very important. It saves you a lot of trouble after. Also, when you do something like this and you're doing repeated patterns, it's good to remember how you have done the first pattern. I mean, in which order you have put your lines of mosaic, and then you can follow that pattern at your next pattern. So in other words, it's a good idea to be consistent with the way that you're laying your tiles down, because that's what will give your work a better look, a more consistent look, a more tidy look. So there is some thought that needs to go into the process when you're doing mosaic art, just like any other craft. The best thing, in my opinion, is to just take your time, just really enjoy the process. Otherwise, if you just rush into it, you will be disappointed with the results after. I see a big difference in my work, the work that I have done when I'm fresh and full of energy, and the work that I've done when I'm really, really tired. When I go back and see the work that I've done when I was really tired or stressed, there's a very obvious difference between the two. So I think it's worth it, if you're doing a project that's a bit larger, to invest a little bit of time, if you can, when you are not tired, not stressed out. Find a spot in your house where you can just leave your things, like I said before, or at least leave some of the things. So here I'm just doing a little bit of cleaning. This is a few hours after, I believe. So obviously, if the tile adhesive has gone hard, you can use a little spatula or an old knife, or even your tweezers, to clean the top of the tiles. This will work well if your tiles are very smooth. If your tiles are porous or have indentations, then obviously it's going to be extra work. If your tile adhesive is still very, very wet, then you definitely don't want to start pushing the tiles down. You just do a very, very, very gentle cleaning with a damp sponge, like I mentioned before. I think for this project I will go for a darker grout color. So even though the mosaic, the sections that I'm completing here, as you can see, are already grouted, are automatically grouted, because I'm using, at this stage now, I'm using the Unibond tile adhesive and grout, so it's 2 in 1. But and obviously that comes in white, this tub that I'm using, but I think that I will definitely paint the grout when I've finished. Again, I have a vision in my mind of how I would like it to look, and I'm just trying to follow that every step of the way. So the vision that I have is that you will be able to see, of course, that it's a mosaic, but I want the grout to be, I don't want the grout to be so noticeable. Also, with this project, I've tried to be a little bit more relaxed, so I'm following all the traditional rules of how to lay the tiles and stagger the tiles, like I mentioned before, and things like that. But at the same time, I tried to be a little bit more relaxed about it, and not to be so extremely fussy about how the tiles are going to be laid. And overall, I am happy with what I've done so far. You know, when I do a mosaic, I always want it to look, I'm happy when it looks handmade. My aim is not for it to look absolutely calculated and perfect. That's not what mosaics are about. So just remember, whatever it is you're doing, it's a handmade object. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be calculated. Like I said before, you obviously have a thought process, and you must do a little bit of planning in the beginning so that you're not disappointed at the end. But at the same time, it's about relaxing, enjoying the process, and really just getting into that creative journey. Okay, so I don't know why the music stops so abruptly. I don't know why it's doing that. So another thing is that you want to lay your tiles, so cut your tiles and lay them down before you actually stick them in place. That might be common sense for some people, but I just wanted to point it out anyway. Some people just want to get on with it, and because they want to see the results of their work straight away. But from my experience and from my experience with people that I teach, it's always a good idea to cut your tiles and lay them down and see what it's going to look like before you actually stick them down. Because when you're working in this method, so when you're working directly onto your final surface with a glue that's obviously going to be strong, it's better to do that. It's better to lay them down before you, and see what they look like before you actually stick them down. And remember to keep those grout lines staggered. So you want to avoid having continuous lines going across your design, because if you do that, then the design will look like it's been cut, and that's not going to look very good. So whenever you do your next line of tiles, just make sure that you try to cut through the previous grout lines, if that makes sense. So here I'm just filling in these triangular shapes, but I'm still trying to follow the pattern. So I'm still trying to follow that curve going upwards, and I'm trying to use the grain of the tiles in that direction as well, because I think that that's important for this particular design. It is possible to cut these tiles with the other types of cutters. I have done it before, but it's messier and it creates a lot more glass shards and things, so it's not really recommended. The other cutters are meant to be for ceramic tiles, and these are really good. These wheeled nippers or tilers are really good for glass. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, just to let you know that I am using the LiQWYD nippers, which are a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth the money if you think that you're going to do mosaics quite often. It's definitely worth it. Also, other basic things that you will need is a good pair of tweezers, a small spatula. You obviously need your base, which can be a piece of MDF, plywood, chipwood, things like that. As long as it's not moldy and it's not, dirty or damp. You want it to obviously to be in good condition. Other things you can use are an old plate, a ceramic tile. You can even do mosaics glass on glass, which is something else that I've done, and you can go back and see my other videos with mosaics glass on glass. So there's lots of things that you can do. And just be creative with the things, even with things that you already have at home or in the shed, or things that you have forgotten about. Like I said, when I did my first video of this Morrocan table, this is a project that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I finally managed to sit down and just get it done, and I'm so excited to complete the project this week, hopefully, and next week, and show you the finished product. This is the mixture that I'm using at the moment, Unibond tile adhesive and grout, which I bought for £5.50 for the top that you see here, and I think that was a very good price for what it is. It's a good quality, very good quality grout. It's not suitable for exterior projects, so please make sure if you are going to do something that's going to be for outdoors, make sure that you use the right materials, and I would not recommend a wooden base. So there's other things that you can use, and if you're not sure, you can always contact me and ask me about that, or we can talk about that when we do our next face-to-face class, hopefully sometime in the summer. Lots of people use this sort of a marine plywood for outdoor projects, and they use a sealant to protect the wood before they begin their work. But personally, I would not take the risk to do that. I would not go with wood for outdoors. I know people that have spent a lot of time making something beautiful, you know, a tabletop or something like that, and then they left it outside, and because of the weather in where we live in England, in Britain, obviously it's very damp outside. Even in the summertime at night it gets damp, and if you just leave something like that outdoors long term, eventually the dampness, the water will get through the grout and it will destroy your work. So you don't want to do that. Obviously you can put your object in the shed or something at night, but still I'm not very confident that it's the right thing to use outdoors. I've mentioned at my other videos as well, if you're watching for the first time, that if you want to go around a certain curve or make a circle with tiles, it's not very difficult. You can cut, you can cut triangles, but you can also cut these trapezoid shapes, and then when you put one next to the other, basically it follows the curve that you want to achieve. I was quite tired when I was doing this bit here, so it didn't really turn out exactly the way that I had in mind, but hopefully I can improve it at a later stage. It is possible to move the tiles once your project is finished. You just have to dig all around your tile with a pair of tweezers or something small and pointy, and then you can use a little bit of water, actually just a little bit of warm water. That will help to take the tiles off. Also, I found that if you use nail polish remover, for some reason it reacts with the grout, with this type of grout anyway. It really helps to soften it, and if you use that in moderation, you can remove the pieces that you're not happy with a little bit of nail polish remover. So basically it just softens the grout, and you can just scrape it off and then just peel your tile off.
trees inside of me. In this desert I can look at you with love, seeing all that I can learn. Can you stay and I will grow the hanging gardens of Babylon. Love, 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 I wanna be strong, strong, strong. We're doing wrong, 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 but I'll fix it, fix it. Love, 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 I wanna be strong, strong, strong. We're doing wrong, 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 but we'll change it, change it. I would like to tell you
I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that I will be able to complete this project to show you very soon. Next week I will be doing a very small mosaic, which I don't think I can complete it in 1 hour, but it's definitely something that you could try on your own if it's the first time that you're doing mosaic art. As a general rule, I suppose it's easier to start with something where you don't need to do too much cutting and your pieces are not tiny, but everybody's different. Some people get into it straight away and they like to cut very small pieces, and some other people find it a bit more difficult and they need to practice cutting more. Also, there are lots of things that you can use if you have a problem with your hands and you can't do much cutting. So you can use things like small buttons, millefiori tiles, or glass nuggets, and generally round items that you would not need to cut, you know, if you want to avoid cutting altogether. So there's so many things that you can find online nowadays. You can find really something for anybody's taste and budget. Or you can just have a go at paper mosaics to begin with, if you want to familiarize yourself with just cutting all the different shapes and how they're going to fit in a certain area. Another thing that's quite popular is eggshell mosaics, which I suppose it is similar to traditional mosaics, and that's also something that you can try at home, is to use eggshells and just snap them with your fingers. But then of course you will get all irregular shapes, so you can make something unique that way and paint over it after. The videos that I make are mainly about more traditional methods of mosaic, and also using, like I've said before, using materials that will last. So my aim is, my personal preference is, when I make something, I try to make it in such a way that it will last for a very long time, and perhaps I can give it to somebody else later on or sell it. So I like to make things that stand the test of time, but as a craft and as a hobby, you can use lots of other things. Like I said before, people use cut CDs or buttons or other found objects, beads, parts of jewelry. You know, the list is endless. But the mosaics that I make, I usually use either glass tiles or ceramic tiles or stone, which is something that I haven't done for this series of courses online, because it's just a little bit more difficult to cut the glass, but perhaps that is something that I can do at a later stage. I hope to see you soon at Expressions Cafe in Walsall. We are at number 73 Bridge Street, Walsall, West Midlands. Today is the first day that the cafe is open for a chat outside in the garden. But I'm sure that the cafe will open properly soon, where you will be able to sit indoors as well, and we can start doing some classes upstairs again. I hope you've enjoyed my video. Take care, be creative, and I will see you very soon. Bye.